field hospitals and medical staff to countries affected by the Ebola in West Africa.
The United Nations has been deeply involved in containment of the Ebola virus disease in West Africa. On Wednesday, it said some progress has been made. British Foreign Secretary Philip Hammond recently met with British military, aid workers, diplomats and health workers working with the UK Ebola response in Sierra Leone. British personnel, along with the World Health Organization, is training around 800 people every week at the Ebola Training Academy in Freetown.
Well, we've been in here for a couple of months now, working hard with the Sierra Leoneans, getting the Sierra Leone government to make the changes that are necessary in order to deliver the command and control system, providing British military and British civilian support where appropriate, and we are getting on top of it.
Meanwhile, former British Prime Minister Tony Blair has praised both Sierra Leone and British-led Ebola response in Freetown. He made a visit recently to the Western Area District Command Centre and the Ebola Training Academy in Freetown.
There is a huge international effort coming in here now, and as I say, the British Army, the British Department of Development is doing a great job in trying to mobilise and help, but you've got the pace of the disease spreading and then you've got the pace of the help, and we need to get those two things aligned.
Mr. Blair is also the patron and founder of the African Governance Initiative, which has been working in countries in West Africa. When the Ebola virus broke out, they turned their attention to helping countries affected by the virus. While he said Britain has done well, he acknowledged there was still a shortage of medical personnel.
A huge amount is being done. I think there is a vast amount more of organisation, focus, discipline, but there's still, we still have shortages of beds and medical personnel, and lab tests need to be done faster, and there's a whole host of things that needs to be done, and the disease, the numbers of cases continue to rise. So I think people are optimistic they will get on top of it. And there's an immense amount of work being done by the government of Sierra Leone, great job done by the British government, but this is a big challenge, and we just got to keep focusing on it until the job is done.
The number of Ebola cases is surging in Sierra Leone owing to a lack of treatment centres, while lack of food and basic goods is forcing some people to leave quarantine areas. And despite its problems in the Middle East, Israel has begun preparing to send equipment and medical supplies to nations worst affected by Ebola. The delivery, expected to be shipped from Israel on Friday to Sierra Leone, Liberia and Guinea, includes 6 cargo containers of specialist equipment to set up portable field hospitals.
Each clinic consists of 20 beds, and it's a fully equipped clinic with beds and with carts and treatment carts and oxygen and certain medication and protection gear. We are sending staff that will construct the clinics, and we are donating these clinics to the 3 governments. In addition, we are putting in touch Israeli NGOs with the local governments in order for them to send Israeli volunteers, medical staff, doctors, paramedics and nurses from Israel.
He says it will take up to 40 days for the goods to reach West Africa. The entire operation will cost the government $314,466 US.
When we come back after the break, the international community is taking the fight against Ebola one step further. Stay with us.
22 airports around the country, an industry that generates billions of naira, connecting millions for business and leisure, will put you through the paces and give you an insider's view on the aviation industry. Watch Aviation This Week only on Channels Television. Aviation This Week, keeping an eye on the aviation industry.
While trying to inform the general public about the Ebola virus disease, health workers are also looking for ways to make the effort easier. French-based medical charity Médecins Sans Frontières on Tuesday launched an online training program for its staff and others interested in fighting Ebola. A British computer game developer has also joined the fight against Ebola with a popular virus-themed game available online. Our friends at the Voice of America tells us more.
Doctors Without Borders has sent about 700 international aid workers so far into Ebola-ravaged Liberia, Guinea and Sierra Leone. It has trained nearly 3,000 local people how to safely help the diseased, bury the dead and fight the spread of the virus. But as the outbreak spiraled out of control, shortages of medical facilities and staff trained to deal with Ebola has become the main problem. The online course is designed to help train doctors, nurses, health educators and others involved in fighting the virus at its source in West Africa. The information presented in 11 chapters is clear and simple enough for everyone to understand. Starting from the origin of the outbreak, the training moves on to protective strategies, treatment and psychological help, and ends with life after Ebola. At the end of each stage, tests help ensure that life-saving information is properly absorbed. For example, how to don layers of protective clothing in a safe manner before entering a highly contagious environment. The Ebola epidemic has sparked fear worldwide. It also has led to a boom in downloads for the online game Plague Inc., available on the internet. In the game, the player creates and evolves a pathogen in an effort to destroy the world with a deadly plague.
When the Ebola cases started happening in the West, we saw around a 50% increase in daily downloads of the game. And that's the first time that we've ever seen a real-world situation have an impact on downloads.
The developer of Plague Inc. says he felt uncomfortable about the popularity of the game, in which the goal is to destroy humanity with different viruses.
I didn't want to have my game associated with something as horrific as the current Ebola outbreak. So that just made me very keen to try and use that position to help in whatever way we can.
Starting this month, players accessing the game are offered links to charity websites to aid the fight against Ebola.
Plague Inc. has over 35 million players